Dijonai, how come every time there's a foul, a questionable foul, a flagrant foul, a smack across the face, a fingernail in the eye?
The Unrivaled League is erupting with turmoil. In a jaw-dropping moment, Dijonai Carrington slaps Kate Martin mid-game, an unexpected and blatant foul that has left both fans and competitors stunned. With Caitlin out of reach, Dijonai directs her aggression toward Kate, igniting chaos on the court.
What really happened here, man, with Dijonai. Okay. Nice pass. Oh, man. So you're going to help her up right after you clobber her like that, right? You're going to help her up after you clobber her like, didn't even look at her. Oh, she's so shady.
Dijonai Carrington is once again grabbing headlines for all the wrong reasons, sparking debates about her notorious reputation for playing aggressively. This time, her focus shifted to none other than Kate Martin, who has become the latest casualty of Carrington's contentious strategies.
If she can't get to Caitlin, she'll just settle for Kate.
As Martin advanced past Carrington, the defender executed what seemed like an overly aggressive maneuver. Instead of challenging the ball within the bounds of fair play, Carrington swung a dubious arm toward Martin, making contact in a manner that sent the Iowa standout sprawling to the ground. The impact of the foul left Martin visibly distressed, clutching her side as officials promptly signaled the play and rushed to evaluate the situation.
Being reported that Kate Martin gets annoyed over Dijonai Carrington's physical defense during Unrivaled. WNBA standout Kate Martin didn't seem to appreciate the physical defense Dijonai Carrington played on her during Unrivaled League. And I'm telling y'all right now, we already know how she coming, bruh. She's very handsy with her style of play, and she's not the only one. It's a lot of ladies in this league that play like that.
Replay footage underscored the gravity of the incident. The arm movement wasn't accidental. It seemed deliberate, sparking accusations that Carrington had reverted to her previous aggressive playing style to secure an advantage. Martin, renowned for her toughness and sportsmanship, was left lying on the court, requiring assistance to regain her footing. Fortunately, after a brief evaluation, she was able to continue playing, though the effects of the moment lingered.
She has hurt her nose again. I don't know if it's broken or not, but I think Kate's just toughness, resiliency, and leadership is the biggest thing. And I mean, you see it, like, Kate's a pro player. Like, you see her game, she's hitting fadeaway jump shots, she's going at people.
Additionally, Kate has injured her nose once more. Whether it's broken remains unclear, but Kate's toughness, resilience, and leadership are undeniably her greatest strengths. You can see it in her gameplay. She's a seasoned professional sinking fadeaway jump shots and fiercely challenging her opponents. If you're familiar with Dijonai Carrington's history, you know she has a notorious reputation for dirty tactics. True to form, Carrington's latest on-court actions have once again taken center stage, sparking widespread outrage. Last season, Dijonai Carrington's questionable tactics were on full display during a heated matchup against Caitlin Clark, an incident that remains one of the most discussed controversies in WNBA history.
WNBA Twitter is currently crashing out over Black Eye Gate. I'm sure we've seen by now this play where Dijonai Carrington pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye. And after seeing this angle, so many people are saying that it was intentional, right? Dijonai goes up to steal the ball, and when she comes down, her hand goes like this, straight into Caitlin's eye. Do I think that this was a reckless play? Yes. Do I think that she did it with the intent to hurt Caitlin Clark? No. Do I think it should have been called a foul?
Carrington's notorious eye poke not only left Clark sporting a noticeable black eye, but also ignited a whirlwind of criticism throughout the league. Fans and analysts alike condemned the brazen act, with Indiana Fever supporters at the forefront, branding Carrington as a dirty player. For many, that moment wasn't merely a momentary lapse in judgment, but a pivotal instance that showcased her readiness to push the limits. Now, following her recent confrontation with Kate Martin, these allegations feel more substantiated than ever as Carrington appears intent on cementing the very reputation she has long sought to distance herself from.
It did not stop one Dijonai Carrington. Of course, she's the person that multiple times had, egregious altercations with Caitlin Clark last year, including the eye poke, the eye gouge, the eye scoop out of Caitlin Clark's head, heard round the world last year, as well as whatever that ridiculous flop and gyration was during one of those games.
The matchup against Martin ignited tension from the very beginning. The Iowa star was unstoppable, her swift movements and accurate shooting overwhelming Carrington. Martin was a constant presence on the court, effortlessly slicing through defenses, orchestrating plays, and maintaining her composure under intense pressure.
Here, as the camera pans over, she reaches in and swipes at the ball, but how hard are you going to do it exactly? You trying to break somebody's arm? Look at that. Look at that. Boom. You know, it's the small things that ain't great.
What made the incident even more striking was the composure Martin exhibited in stark contrast to Carrington's aggression. Recently stepping into a more prominent role and receiving increased playing time, Martin demonstrated precisely why she has earned the trust of her coaches and teammates. While Carrington appeared eager to unsettle her opponent, Martin remained calm, maintaining her focus and consistently performing at a high level. Her ability to stay unfazed despite Carrington's provocations further solidified the perception that Martin is swiftly emerging as one of the league's most promising talents.
What are we doing? We trying to break an arm now on top of it? This person just says it. It's almost assault. Good grief. That looked like break my arm, bro.
Dijonai Carrington's attempt to disrupt Martin wasn't just ineffective, it seemed like an admission of frustration. Throughout the game, Martin showcased her expanding skill set, executing plays with precision, making intelligent decisions, and sinking crucial shots when it mattered most. Despite Carrington's efforts, she couldn't contain Martin, and the foul only highlighted the disparity in their performances. For fans watching, it was evident that Carrington's actions reflected a player struggling to adapt to an opponent who was simply outperforming her. This isn't the first time Carrington has employed such tactics. Known for her fiery demeanor on the court, her approach often treads the fine line between competitive and reckless.
So, the old legacy WNBA media did not think this was possible. They did not think this.
The Indiana Fever continued to make massive moves in free agency, signing Sophie Cunningham and DeWanna Bonner. And you guys, I don't even think they're done.
Not everyone in the WNBA is riding high these days. Some players have just struck it rich by joining a team with Caitlin Clark, leaving the rest of the league watching with envy.
So, Caitlin Clark is now a member of the new Indiana Fever. Remember what they got the big five. They have five. The top 24 scorers in the WNBA last.
The Fever have crafted something extraordinary around Clark, blending seasoned veterans with up-and-coming stars who thrive alongside one of the best passers the sport has ever seen. While some doubted Indiana's ability to lure top talent, those skeptics were proven wrong. So why are players gravitating towards Indiana while others are left pondering missed opportunities? Let's dive into the details. This shift is a game changer for the WNBA.
So firstly, you guys, Sophie Cunningham was traded to the Indiana Fever for Nalissa Smith and a pick. The Indiana Fever also acquired forward Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I am not familiar with her game. She is going to be only a second-year WNBA player, so we will have to see how her game translates to the Indiana Fever. But Sophie Cunningham was such a huge...
Caitlin Clark hasn't even played a single WNBA game yet, but she's already reshaping the league's landscape. When the Indiana Fever clinched the draft lottery, it wasn't just about snagging a future superstar, it was about transforming the franchise's entire identity. For years, Indiana was seen as a perennial underdog, struggling to define itself and attract marquee talent. Now, everything has changed, and the rest of the league is feeling the shift. The prevailing narrative was that Indiana couldn't possibly lure key free agents. Critics genuinely believed that seasoned veterans and emerging stars wouldn't be keen on joining forces with Caitlin Clark. They assumed she would falter without a solid supporting cast, citing Indiana's market, its history of losing seasons, and the so-called controversies surrounding Clark as deterrents. But here's the truth. Players are driven by the desire to win. In the competitive world of the WNBA, you recognize opportunity when it knocks. Caitlin Clark isn't just a talented player, she's a generational force who makes life easier for her teammates. She's the kind of athlete who gets everyone involved, elevates good players to greatness, and brings out the best in those around her. That's precisely why Natasha Howard decided to make the move to Indiana.
The news just dropped. DeWanna Bonner has been signed to the Indiana Fever. I'm about to knock my light over, bro.
That's why DeWanna Bonner was linked to the Fever, and why Sophie Cunningham ended up donning their jersey. Now, let's take a closer look at Natasha Howard. She's far from an ordinary free agent acquisition. She's a WNBA champion, a former Defensive Player of the Year, and a proven winner. With plenty of choices on the table, she opted for Indiana. And why wouldn't she? Playing alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is a dream come true. Clark spreads the floor, dishes out open looks, and consistently pushes the pace, while Boston commands attention in the paint as an interior powerhouse. In that dynamic, Howard flourishes. In Indiana, she'll enjoy easier scoring opportunities, more open shots, and the chance to contribute to something truly remarkable. When Howard inked her deal, the reactions were all over the map. Some in the WNBA media, especially those who rarely delve deep into the nuances of the game, acted as if her decision was nothing short of shocking. They clung to the outdated notion of the Fever as the same old underachieving team from a couple of years back. But the truth is, Indiana is no longer that franchise. They've set a clear vision, a star playmaker at the helm, a dominant post presence, and a coaching staff that knows how to build around such talent. It's this vision that's drawing players to Indiana and rendering the old idea that no one would sign there utterly ridiculous. Then there's Sophie Cunningham. The instant she was traded to Indiana, attention turned her way. Cunningham isn't merely a shooter. She's a gritty, high IQ competitor who excels in a system that values ball movement and purposeful play. She doesn't need to hog the ball to make an impact. Instead, she excels in off-ball movement, finding open spaces and delivering those critical extra passes, all essential skills when playing beside Caitlin Clark. And let's not overlook her defensive prowess and tenacious attitude. Cunningham's edge, her disruptive play, and her refusal to back down were exactly what Indiana needed. After all, you don't just want talent, you want mental toughness, battle-tested grit, and a willingness to fight every night. That's what sets this new Fever squad apart. It isn't just a collection of skilled players, it's a perfect fit. Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Howard together form a lineup with clear identity, one that's poised to compete and catch the league's attention. The rest of the WNBA is taking notice. Teams that once dismissed Indiana are now quietly seething with envy as free agents actively choose Indiana. Those who doubted the impact of Caitlin Clark are starting to see that they miscalculated completely. Clark isn't simply bringing excitement to the court, she's fast-tracking Indiana's transformation into a legitimate contender. Players who once passed on Indiana are now left wondering if they made the wrong choice, because being in Indiana now looks like one of the best opportunities in the league. As the season approaches, the buzz is only intensifying. The WNBA is awakening to a new reality. the Indiana Fever aren't just rebuilding, they're ascending rapidly. And many around the league are starting to feel that intense envy, realizing that the very players who once scoffed at the idea of Indiana might now be regretting their decisions. The Fever have quietly assembled one of the most balanced, well-structured rosters in the league, and it's impossible for other teams not to take notice. For years, Indiana was a team you hardly feared, a mere stepping stone on the schedule, but those days are over. The way they've constructed their roster, the chemistry that's already forming, and the strategic additions they've made are forcing both players and executives across the league to sit up and take notice. Some in the media tried to paint Indiana as an undesirable destination, fixating on external factors and ignoring basic basketball logic. What they missed was simple. Players want to win, and they seek out systems that enhance their abilities. That's exactly what Indiana has created. With Caitlin Clark leading the way, Indiana's style is modern, fast-paced, and unselfish. A system designed to make life easier for every scorer, shooter, and post player. Take Natasha Howard's move, for instance. Critics speculated that her decision was driven by factors off the court, but in reality, Howard made it clear. She craves recognition, victory, and a place where she can truly thrive. Indiana delivered on all fronts. The old media narratives couldn't fathom why someone like Howard would choose Indiana, yet any true student of the game understood immediately. Playing alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is an ideal situation for a versatile forward like her. She isn't saddled with carrying the offense or forcing plays. Instead, she gets better looks and greater opportunities than she has in years. And consider DeWanna Bonner, who was heavily linked to the Fever. Initially, skeptics questioned why she'd ever opt for Indiana. But why wouldn't she? Indiana offers a team-first, up-tempo style where veteran scorers can extend their careers while remaining highly productive. With Indiana's system, Bonner wouldn't be overburdened with minutes. She'd be surrounded by youthful energy and allowed to focus on what she does best, scoring and leadership. Instead, Bonner remained in Connecticut, a team that, while still competitive, might lack the vibrant, exciting environment Indiana is building. Because here's the bottom line. Indiana is on track to be one of the most exciting teams both to watch and to play for. With Clark's visionary playmaking, Boston's commanding presence in the paint, Mitchell's scoring prowess, Cunningham's grit, and Howard's versatility, the pieces are finally coming together in a way few teams can match. And now, the WNBA is watching closely. Teams that once dismissed Indiana are now rethinking their stance, while players who previously overlooked the Fever are beginning to reconsider. If Indiana makes a deep playoff run this year, and they just might, those who passed on them are going to regret missing out. What's most striking about the Fever's roster is how seamlessly everything fits together. It's not just about possessing talent, it's about having the right kind of talent. Caitlin Clark is not a ball-dominant guard who forces poor shots. She's a cerebral playmaker who involves her teammates, ensuring that scorers like Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham get the looks they deserve. Aaliyah Boston isn't just a reliable post presence. She's an elite two-way big who can anchor the defense and dominate on the boards, freeing up her teammates to focus on their roles. Natasha Howard brings veteran savvy and impact on both ends, offering Indiana the switchability and offensive depth they need. When you combine all these elements, you get a team built to win. As the Fever gear up for their inaugural season with Clark at the helm, one question looms large in the WNBA. How soon before other teams try to replicate Indiana's blueprint? Because there's no denying it, the envy is palpable. Players and executives who once wrote off Indiana are now witnessing a transformation in real time. This isn't just about one superstar, It's about a front office that has meticulously constructed a balanced, synergistic roster, forcing everyone to take notice. For years, Indiana was a team you'd barely give a second glance. Today, however, the Fever have redefined themselves through shrewd roster moves, strategic chemistry, and a visionary approach. Some critics in the media clung to outdated perceptions, failing to grasp that players want to win and thrive in systems tailored to their strengths. And with Caitlin Clark steering the ship, Indiana's fast-paced, unselfish style isn't just refreshing, it's revolutionary. The signing of players like Natasha Howard, along with the buzz surrounding Bonner and Cunningham, signals a new era for the Fever. In a few short months, the Indiana Fever have transformed from an afterthought into one of the league's most coveted destinations. The pieces are finally in place, the chemistry is undeniable, and the envy from across the WNBA is unmistakable. It all comes down to one thing. Caitlin Clark has changed everything. Her arrival has not only elevated the talent on Indiana's roster, but has also created an environment where players genuinely want to be. And as the league watches this transformation unfold, it's becoming increasingly clear that Indiana isn't just back in the game, they're here to change it.
Angel Reese was older. I would have gotten on her about what she just said. Because I would have been like, how naive can you be?
The WNBA is absolutely losing it. On the latest comedy special, Angel Reese declared her intention to dethrone Caitlin Clark, as if the enduring superstar could be unseated by someone who's been busy feigning injuries and shedding tears over on-screen theatrics. And let's not overlook her complaints about her salary being substandard. Angel has officially branded herself.
Angel Reese is a wonderful player, but she does not compare to what and who Caitlin Clark is when she's on the basketball floor. Plain and simple.
It's truly ridiculous that she believes she can outshine Clark, the athlete who consistently makes history each season. Reese has only perfected the art of self-deprecation, but who knows? Maybe she's earning accolades for being pitiable. Before Reese starts talking about taking over the WNBA, she might want to reassess her reputation first. Switching coaches won't make her the standout. She needs to adjust her attitude first.
And look, Angel Reese, there's nothing that she does where you go, did you see her?
Angel Reese appears convinced that partnering with David Alexander, LeBron James's trainer, will catapult her into women's basketball stardom. Indeed, collaborating with one of the top trainers globally might make her seem nearly unbeatable and poised to unseat Caitlin Clark. However, while Reese is busy refining her general movement patterns, Caitlin Clark is actively enhancing her shooting and playmaking, key aspects that define the best players on the court. Best of luck, Angel. Clark is sharpening the skills that have already left you behind as you continue your current efforts. Reese might have enjoyed her time at LSU, but equating her level with Clark's is like claiming you'll drop a hit album after singing in the shower for 5 minutes. That's not competitive, it's sheer delusion. While Clark reigns supreme in basketball overall, Reese may have been LSU's standout. But Caitlin is out there transforming the entire game. Reese boasts about overtaking Clark. However, I'd love to hear more about how you intend to dethrone a legend before you've even started making your mark professionally.
Come on, that's the most we've ever lost in our life. I only lost 7 games in my last 2 years at LSU. So, it's been hard for me, but adjusting and just kind of have that mindset of, just moving on has been something I try to give myself a little bit of grace.
Let's rewind to the 2023 NCAA Championship. Remember that scene? Reese was desperately trying to steal Clark's spotlight with a childish taunt, flashing the "you can't see me" gesture right back at Clark. Oh, that was certainly a moment, but for all the wrong reasons. While Reese was busy playing WWE with her hand movements, Clark was out there effortlessly outscoring everyone, including Reese. Angel's bold move was a weak attempt to make herself relevant by trying to steal the show for just 5 seconds. Reese was merely acting to grab attention. This isn't the case.
There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA.
Speaking of numbers, let's consider Reese's WNBA debut. It was underwhelming at best. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is setting the league on fire, averaging 19.2 points per game and dishing out assists like she's been playing professionally for years. In comparison, Reese is putting up 13.6 points per game, which is almost 6 points shy of Clark's tally, in case anyone was unaware. And let's not overlook that Clark topped all rookies with 8.4 assists per game. So, what was Reese up to? She was still mastering consistent shooting, though she certainly gave it her best effort. Moving on to the Rookie of the Year race, Reese only reached the finals, which now feels more like a participation ribbon. Clark didn't just win, she entered the league with a clear intention to dominate, and now Reese is struggling to keep pace. Clark secured that award effortlessly. It wasn't even a contest.
But they still ask you about Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
What is your stance on that?
So my whole thing was like, when I got drafted, number 7. So I'm like, cool. Like, the pressure is not even on me because I'm drafted 7, so the pressure shouldn't be up there. So I'm like, all right, cool. I could just hoop. So I don't know when like it started to just break out where I was just in Rookie of the Year conversations. I'm like, all right, cool.
It's because you started killing it.
Well, yeah.
Like,
Reese's off-court life has truly become a spectacle. She secured a shoe deal with Reebok, which is quite a feat for someone who hasn't yet proven she can consistently perform at the highest level. Let's give her that. Meanwhile, Clark is out there revolutionizing the game with every move she makes. Reese is busy showcasing her lifestyle on Instagram, which is nice and all, but if you think that will help you surpass Clark, then good luck. If I were in her place, I'd focus more on basketball instead of counting the number of likes on your posts. In summary, while Angel Reese may be garnering attention with her off-court ventures and endorsement deals, Caitlin Clark stands out as the true powerhouse in women's basketball. Clark's unwavering dedication to refining her skills, combined with her impressive on-court statistics and game-changing plays, solidifies her position as a league leader. As the WNBA progresses, it's evident that Caitlin Clark is not only setting new standards, but also shaping the future of the sport. Meanwhile, Reese's focus on lifestyle branding and inconsistent performance leaves her trailing behind, highlighting the clear distinction between fleeting fame and sustained excellence in the world of basketball.
Unearned fame and fortune are far more destructive than they might appear. And right now, there's no organization on the planet that proves this point more than the WNBA. The league just posted its highest average game viewership in 24 years. They're bringing in massive new sponsorships, at least by the league standard. They're selling out arenas, which used to be unheard of for the WNBA.
Have you ever wondered why a star like Caitlin Clark is encountering criticism in the WNBA? It's not what you might expect. The league's audience numbers soared, player benefits got better, and women's basketball gained significant attention. However, suddenly, unexpected allegations began to emerge from seasoned WNBA players.
From the executives to the players to the reporters who, for their sins in a past life, have been cursed with the job of covering a women's basketball league, everyone should be overjoyed. But there's a big problem. All of this success, every bit of it, is due to the presence of one player in the league, and that is a generational talent named Caitlin Clark, who of course you've heard of. And still probably the only WNBA player whose name you know.
Matt Walsh isn't buying it. He's calling out the double standards, and trust me, he has the proof. He's armed with the data, the statistics, and he's not afraid to name names. Stay tuned as we uncover the explosive truth behind the WNBA's biggest controversy to date. You won't believe what some players are revealing behind the scenes. Ready? Let's dive in. Imagine this. Caitlin Clark steps onto the court, and the WNBA undergoes a complete transformation overnight. She's not just making an impact, she's changing the game.
She's the reason the WNBA just won the lottery. Without Caitlin Clark, nobody cares about any of these players or the league. With her, most people still don't care, but a lot more people care than did before. And everybody knows that, right? Therefore, everyone in the league other than Caitlin Clark is doing exactly what so many lottery winners do. They're allowing all of their worst personality traits to surface because they just can't help themselves.
The WNBA is undergoing an unprecedented boom. Viewership has soared to record-breaking heights, leaving executives in awe. Stadiums are packed to capacity, generating an electric energy that was once unimaginable in the WNBA. It's as if someone hit a power switch, and suddenly women's basketball has become the hottest ticket in town.
You know, there are a lot of stories out there about lottery winners who go on to destroy their lives. Something like 70% of them supposedly go bankrupt within a few years. It's not hard to see how that would happen. When you give a lot of money and attention to a person who didn't earn any of it, that person doesn't suddenly change overnight. Instead, more often than not, all of their worst character traits are amplified 10 times over, and in many cases, that leads to a very public and humiliating collapse. This is a principle that doesn't just apply to individuals, it turns out. It applies to organizations too.
This surge in popularity is bringing in significant investments. Sponsorships and major deals are flooding in like never before. It's as though the floodgates have opened, and everyone wants a slice of the WNBA action. Players are enjoying enhanced benefits, and the league is attracting attention from unexpected sources with a surge of new fans. But here's the kicker: not everyone is celebrating. Some players are voicing their frustrations. Can you believe it? Amidst all this success, underlying discontent is starting to surface.
There's been a lot of resentment in this league lately, in particular since the season began. And the thing about resentment, as we all know, is that it tends to fester over time. It gets worse and worse. That's exactly what we're seeing now.
It's truly perplexing. On one side, the league is finally gaining the recognition it has been yearning for. On the other, some players seem discontent with the very achievements they've been striving toward. Why? That's the million-dollar question. Are they envious of Clark's sudden rise to stardom? Concerned about what this means for their own careers? Or is there something more beneath the surface?
Race hysteria in the WNBA has somehow reached yet another inflection point. The league is currently in the midst of what really might be the single most contrived racism scandal, certainly in any professional sport, at least since the fake noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. Specifically, a bunch of WNBA players have come out claiming that they've been victimized by racial slurs and other forms of racist attacks. Like, a lot of players are claiming this.
Imagine this. The WNBA is soaring on an unprecedented wave of popularity, and then a bombshell hits that shakes the league to its very foundation. We're discussing explosive accusations of racism that threaten to dismantle women's basketball. It's like striking a match in a room filled with gasoline.
How do you feel about what has happened over the past year with the W since you first came in to where it is now? And obviously the game has grown and there's new fans, but do you appreciate the new fans without all the noise that's coming with them?
I don't appreciate the new fans that sit there and yell racial slurs at myself, my teammates, and the people that I play against, because those might be opponents, but those are friends too. You know, they don't deserve that. So I don't appreciate the new fans. I think it's okay to do that.
Brittany Griner, one of the league's biggest stars, steps forward with a startling allegation. She claims that new fans are hurling slurs during games. Can you believe it?
The question that Brittany Griner was asked was about the massive growth of this league, which was dead in the water just a year ago and had been dead for its entire existence. And the reporter asked, "What do you think of all the new fans?" And like in any other context, when someone says, "What do you think of all the new fans that are coming in?" Usually it's, "Oh, it's great. We love how everybody is supporting the league and we're so grateful." None of that. instead of some gratitude, some appreciation for the people who have saved the WNBA, who pay to come out to see bad players like Brittany Griner, instead of that, we get resentment.
Now for the details. None of these racial slurs have been confirmed, even though some are alleged to have happened during games. As far as I know, none of them have been captured on camera. Interesting. There's no visual or audio proof to back any of these claims. Not a single trustworthy report either. That's highly unusual, especially considering there are cameras and smartphones at every WNBA game. Walsh isn't holding back. He's stating it exactly as he sees it, asserting that these accusations are completely fabricated. It's a daring claim, but it's making people take notice. But let's slow down for a moment. Why would players fabricate something so serious? That's the million-dollar question sparking intense debates among fans and critics alike. Are they trying to create drama? Is there something else happening behind the scenes? If there were, the videos would be all over the internet, but they're nowhere to be found. They don't exist online. So instead, we're left having to rely on the players' statements. The entire situation is causing turmoil within the league. On one side, you have players feeling wronged and calling for action. On the other, there are skeptics like Walsh demanding solid evidence before making any judgments. And in the middle of it all, the fans, the sponsors, and the future of the WNBA itself.
The reason why it really, really gets my blood boiling is because it's the exact same thing we see in every other sport. The games where she's not playing have lower viewership.
This has to be a joke. Sue Bird is the last person I'd imagine making these kinds of comments about Caitlin Clark. Seriously, Sue? The epitome of generational talent, someone who's witnessed it all, possesses an in-depth understanding of the game, and navigates the intricate court politics better than anyone else. And now she's behaving this way? Come on!
Some people continue to flip that. Those people, I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product? It's a business you're in. It's not that they can't.
This is getting unbelievable. Sue Bird, the WNBA's very own walking history book, has targeted Caitlin Clark. And trust me, it's igniting a lot of conversations.
And yet, we don't hear anyone on the Celtics and the Mavs. That is not how this works. It's because there's some players that are just so transcendent that the viewership's going to be insane no matter what.
Great.
And it has nothing to do with the other players, the other...
Seriously, we're talking about Sue Bird here. She's essentially basketball royalty, yet out of nowhere, she launches an attack on Caitlin Clark, the young star who has been driving the league's ticket sales and viewership through the roof. Why? Apparently, it's because ticket prices and TV ratings have dipped since Clark's team, the Indiana Fever, were knocked out of the playoffs. But that's hardly shocking. Clark is a true fan magnet, plain and simple.
And to imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlin Clark had and still continues to have on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, Sue Bird.
Honestly, just look at the Golden State Valkyries, an expansion team that's already sold out around 18,000 season tickets. Clark doesn't even play for them, yet her influence is undeniable. Still, some people keep twisting the narrative. I've seen Stephen Smith discuss it, I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it, and here's what I don't understand. They work for ESPN. Why are they attacking a product that's literally part of their business?
Stephen A. and with Shannon, there's an aspect of them like defending their stances on her. Like, we were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there because nobody ever said.
It's not that they can't express their opinions, but Sue didn't just mention it and move on. Oh no, she went all out, even pulling Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp into the fray. And let's be honest, Those two are renowned for their brutally honest takes on everything. So, what exactly is Sue Bird upset about? Is it Stephen A. and Shannon Sharpe calling it as they see it? It's not even like they're wrong.
I don't know how you explain, like, honestly, look at the Golden State Valkyries. It's an expansion team. They've already sold out, I think it's 18,000 season tickets. Caitlyn doesn't play there. And yet some people continue to flip that. Those people, I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharpe talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product? It's a business you're in. It's not that they can't.
Let's dive into the entire Bird versus Clark drama for a moment. Could this be stemming from bitterness? Let's be honest. Caitlin Clark skyrocketed to become the face of women's basketball almost overnight. She's drawing massive crowds and achieving viewership numbers like no one else ever has. But then Sue steps in, casting shade on anyone who dares to acknowledge the obvious. The WNBA is struggling to keep pace without Clark on the court.
Sue Bird calls out ESPN host for, quote, hating on WNBA playoff ratings after Caitlin Clark's exit. You say, what? Why? Why, y'all? Really? This is where we have to go?
The WNBA tries to portray its achievements as the product of collective advancement. But let's be honest, is Caitlin Clark truly propelling the league forward? Without her, TV ratings drop, ticket sales plunge, and merchandise revenue disappears. The league should be going above and beyond to keep her satisfied, instead of clinging to outdated pay structures that scream, "We don't truly value you." Fans aren't oblivious to this nonsense. Social media is inundated with demands for change. People are highlighting the absurdity of her salary relative to her impact. It's not just a matter of fairness, it's a business issue. You don't underpay the individual who is vital to your survival. That's not only poor optics, it's poor math. Yet, the WNBA seems too busy celebrating minor growth to realize they're engaging in a risky strategy. If they don't evolve, they risk losing not only Clark, but also the entire momentum she has built. Talented players like her are rare. They're once-in-a-generation athletes who can transform a sport. If the WNBA fails to find a way to compensate her appropriately, don't be shocked if other leagues or opportunities come her way.
What it do, peeps? Sheryl Swoopes is been missing. Sheryl Swoopes is MIA. They got a APB out for Sheryl Swoopes. If you see Sheryl Swoopes, she did a lot of talking a few months ago about the Indiana Fever, the locker room environment, how people didn't want to play there, how people wanted to leave.
Sheryl Swoopes really missed the mark this time. With a bold stance and a voice full of certainty, she boldly claimed that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were doomed to fail in attracting top-tier free agents. But fast forward, and the Fever just pulled off one of the most impressive free agency hauls the league has ever seen. As for Sheryl, well, she's now the human equivalent of a malfunctioning Magic 8 ball, constantly wrong every step of the way.
People in the Fever were like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
So
new
that-
new shit's
yeah, like
going
it's a
on
lot.
around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Let's hit rewind for a second. Sheryl Swoopes, Hall of Famer, basketball icon, no doubt. But these days, she's clocking in full-time as a professional skeptic, putting in some serious overtime. With all her experience, she boldly declared that the Fever would never land elite players because of supposed locker room drama. And yet, here we are, contracts signed, deals sealed, and Indiana just built a powerhouse. Meanwhile, Sheryl's left watching from the sidelines, looking a little foolish, probably brainstorming her next questionable hot take.
Stephanie White came in and said, okay, hold up. Let me go to Indeed.com and Indeed get some free agents to come in here that want to play, that are accomplished, seasoned veterans. She did all that. Cheryl's been nowhere to be found. Sheryl got a lot of crow to eat, folks. Sheryl could be choking on crow right now. She need that Heimlich maneuver. If you see Cheryl Swoopes, tell her it's okay to come out and talk and say, man, you was wrong. It's okay.
I can picture Cheryl scrolling through her phone like, no way these players picked Indiana. But surprise, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, and even Asia Wilson's best friend, Sydney Colson, are all in the Fever. They didn't just win free agency, they absolutely cooked it. And when Colson was asked why she signed with Indiana, let's roll the footage.
Yeah, I talked to Sydney Colson today about her signing with Indiana. She said that Kelsey Mitchell was actually the first person she hit up because they built a bond here, playing AU for the last 3 years. She said she heard some good things about Caitlin Clark from her Aces teammate Kate Martin as well, so that made the decision easy.
Exactly. She was drawn to playing alongside Kelsey Mitchell, a longtime friend, and the rising star, Caitlin Clark. These were the very two players Cheryl Swoopes wrote off just months ago. And here's the kicker. This is the same Cheryl who said Caitlin Clark would need years to get used to the WNBA. Years? Seriously? Clark's out here casually dropping 40 points like it's nothing, while Swoopes' predictions are aging about as well as spoiled milk.
3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't. Bro, Cheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
At this point, it feels like hating on Caitlin Clark has become Cheryl Swoopes' personal Olympic event, and she's snagging gold. Actually, she's probably sweeping the entire podium, gold, silver, and bronze, looking all kinds of salty while the anthem plays. Oh, Caitlin won't make the leap to the WNBA. Well, someone should let Indiana know, because they're out here stacking elite talent like they're building an all-star team. Caitlin Clark isn't just finding her footing, she's dominating, and the Fever are right there with her. Maybe it's time for Cheryl Swoopes to take a back seat, because Indiana just gave her a reality check.
No, but players who will be free agents next year, there's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Let's not fool ourselves. The real reason some of these WNBA vets and self-proclaimed legends can't stand Caitlin Clark is because she didn't play by their rules. She didn't wait her turn or ask for permission to stand out. Nah, she waltzed in, shattered 62 records in her rookie season, embraced the fans, and took the sport to new global heights. And, oh, does that sting for them? You bet it does.
The Indiana Fever are that golden destination, and I can't help but laugh to the fans and the people online and the media commentators, unfortunately, who said that nobody wanted to play in Indiana. That doesn't make any sense.
Caitlin Clark didn't need anyone's approval to claim her spot as the face of women's basketball. She's got more global recognition than half the league combined, and that's not by accident. That's the power of being a generational talent. Cheryl Swoopes, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and the rest of the Caitlin haters are just going to have to live with it. While they're busy throwing shade, Caitlin is out here racking up accolades, selling out arenas, and making the Indiana Fever the hottest ticket in town. And let's take a moment to appreciate this. The Indiana Fever, the team once overlooked by everyone, are now the center of the basketball world. The former league underdog is now the squad every player wants to join. Now that's what you call shifting the entire landscape.
You know, a lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
So, Cheryl, what happened to that claim about players not wanting to go to Indiana? Who exactly were you talking to? The ghosts of teams long gone? Because real, relevant players are lining up to join the Fever like it's the VIP section of an exclusive club. Did she honestly think Caitlin Clark would have to beg anyone to team up with her? Let's be real here.
Went even further when a game that Cheryl Swoopes was calling for the Dallas Wings, where the commentator was talking about how great Caitlin Clark had been playing. Cheryl Swoopes, silent for 60 seconds, didn't even want to address it. And it got so bad that the game that Dallas then went to play against the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark after the domination of the Chicago Sky, Cheryl Swoopes got pulled from the broadcast.
Someone better check on Cheryl because she's clearly stuck in 2002 when the Fever were stumbling through mediocrity like it was some kind of team-building drill. Sis, things have shifted. This isn't Tamika Catchings trying to lift a squad of part-time gym teachers. The Indiana Fever are stacked now. Natasha Howard, a champion, defensive powerhouse, and certified scorer. Here's what she had to say when she signed on with the team.
It's going to be Caitlin Clark Flash Show. So it's going to be phenomenal playing with a point guard, like you said, that have a good vision on the court. Because that's like as soon as she gets the ball in her hand, she's throwing it up because she already see the person down the court before she even get the ball in her hand. So that's one thing I love about her vision on the court. I really can't wait to catch all those passes and give her all the assists that she needs.
DeWanna Bonner, standing tall at 6 feet 4 inches, a walking mismatch, an elite scorer, and a key player in the WNBA's top tier. And guess what? She just fired back at all the Fever doubters on Twitter. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, bringing the heat, the confidence, and enough smack talk to shake any arena. So, who did she want to team up with?
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
And Sydney Colson, whether she's logging major minutes or not, is about to transform the Fever locker room into the most fun, high-energy space the team has ever seen. The chemistry? Off the charts. Do we sense a trend here? They all chose Indiana. They all decided to play with the core group of Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. So while Cheryl Swoopes is busy crafting her next misguided hot take, the Fever are out here building a dynasty. Maybe it's time someone hands Cheryl a pair of glasses because she might be talking about the wrong team. Could she be referring to the Las Vegas Aces, the Chicago Sky, or the Connecticut Sun, all of which seem to be falling apart? The Fever are here, and they're not just showing up. They're taking over.
You know that I'm very excited, and I really agree with a lot of the moves the Indiana Fever have made. There's not been one trade or pickup that the Indiana Fever have made that I have not been on board with. I'm on board with every single one. And I just want to say the fact that the Indiana Fever have gone out and got these great players like a Natasha Howard, like a DeWanna Bonner, like a Sophie Cunningham, the fact that they've gone out and got these great players shows that they believe Caitlin Clark is great right now. They are on board with the Caitlin Clark vision, and it just makes me happy, because they're not treating Caitlin Clark like a rookie who is gonna be good in 10 years. No, they're treating her like a superstar who is good right now.
Cheryl Swoopes really thought she was dropping some major insights on the Gills Arena podcast. She hopped on the mic like she was about to spill top secret info, but all she ended up revealing was just how much her credibility has taken a hit. At this point, are we even shocked? Cheryl's out here throwing out hot takes like it's her side hustle, and if there were a Hall of Fame for terrible opinions, she'd be a first ballot, unanimous pick.